Welcome back, guys. So today I thought I'd take you guys all on a little walk here in the subtropical rainforests here in Queensland, Australia. And there is a lot to see. So when I was thinking up ideas for this video of what to talk about on this walk, one of the things that struck me is how ancient this place is. So depending on what you guys believe in, Australia has been floating in the ocean on its own for about 55 million years. The last continent that it was actually attached to was Antarctica. And there's all different theories for that, with fossilized rainforests, very similar to Australia, being found in Antarctica. So Australia's kind of been a very isolated place for a long time, and that's given the chance for a lot of unique plants and wildlife to kind of form. And a lot of biologists agree that Australia is the best example of plant evolution that you can actually see. So a lot of scientists from around the world come here to see the plants and the wildlife because it's been untouched for millions of years. And it's quite sad actually, because when Australia was first colonised by the good old British, they originally called it Terra Nullius, which is Latin for land belonging to no one. And that name kind of justified a lot of what they did to this country. So that could be, a lot of it was actually terraforming the country. So terraforming basically means changing a landscape into a more desirable place. So for the British, that was farmland and places to live. So today we've lost about 50% of Australia's rainforest. That's just including the rainforest, not the dry woodlands, just the rainforest. And that is an astonishing number, 50%. And places like this have actually been pretty well untouched, which is why I love walking through here, because these forests hold so much wisdom. These forests have been growing here, doing their thing for, depending on your belief, thousands, millions of years. And it's been working great. Look at this. Oh. Right there's a monitor lizard. Boom, look at that. Amazing. One really cool thing about walking through this forest is, we see what's above the ground. So all these trees shoot up out of the ground, and that's all we really see. And one thing I've been trying to focus on more coming out here is what's actually underneath the ground. So I've been reading a book about fungus, and to be honest, I actually didn't really think about fungus that much on my gardening journey, but now I've actually realized that it's one of the most important parts of these forests. And in the book it talks about how every single tree that you see is connected underground by a system of mycelium. And the mycelium connects all the trees together so that when something happens to one tree, so if I was to cut this tree here, it would actually send a signal to this tree saying I need help, and this tree would send nutrients to this tree to help keep it going. So we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of actually what's happening in these forests. And in biology, it's one of those things that the more that we learn, the more we realize we don't know. So these, as I was saying before, these forests hold a lot of wisdom. And it's sad because once these forests get taken down, they take especially the old growth forests, which are, you know, those trees that you see in the United States, huge redwoods, the trees you see in Tasmania, the big eucalyptus trees. Those trees take thousands of years to come back because they only thrive in very, very perfect conditions. This forest here isn't old growth. It's been here for a long time, but I mean, yeah, there are some trees that are very old here, probably a bit over 100 years old. These big eucalyptus trees here. Have a look at these giants. Wow, these are tallow woods, probably 150 years old. Huge trees, and one of the hardest woods of any Australian tree. Absolutely beautiful. This part of the forest is definitely my favorite. So this is the lowest part of the forest where all of the water gathers, which means that it's the wettest, so there's palms and ferns everywhere. And I don't know if you can hear it, but there are birds just having a good time. This right here is one of my favorite plants in the forest. This is a tree fern. A fun fact about them is they actually don't send roots into the ground. The roots are actually on the stem. So if you come up close, you can see these little roots here. That's where they get their water from. And that's why they only thrive in these very humid, moist environments. And one really cool thing about these forests here is there are plants growing everywhere. There isn't really a bare spot of soil. It's just bursting with life. There's tree ferns everywhere. Paperbark trees also. So for those of you that haven't seen these before, it's basically a tree, obviously, that produces bark that is like paper, and the indigenous use this to cook their food with. They used it to smoke their food, but a lot of things growing. This right here is another one of my favorite plants. This is, I forgot the name of it, but it is the biggest fern in the world. Look at that. So you'd probably look at that and think that's a palm tree, but it's actually an ancient type of fern that was around when the dinosaurs were here. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, actually, there's the name. It is called the king fern. Another beautiful tree here is the cabbage palm. I think these look absolutely sick. Look at that. Such a cool looking plant. And they call it the cabbage palm because the top's kind of grows like a cabbage. Not this one, but some of them get real fat, chunky heads. Another really cool plant here in the rainforest is these staghorns. So this is a type of fern that grows on trees, and they're really good habitat for frogs because they hold water. The water comes down, there's like little water pockets in there for them, and they are everywhere here. There's another tallow wood tree, absolute beef. It's sad to me that you'd want to cut that down. That is just a beautiful tree. Amazing. Another really cool thing that happens in these forests is all the trees that fall down become full of life. So this big tree here is covered in ferns growing out of it. And I'm sure there's lots of different animals living in there. And the reason these are so full of life is trees are pretty much full of carbon, which is the water holding part of the soil. So this right here is a giant sponge. So when it rains, it absorbs all this water, and because of the mycelium, which is one of the only living things in the world that can break down wood, it actually turns really soft, and that will all go into the soil. And without the mycelium in the soil, the leaves and the sticks and the logs would be as high as the trees, probably meters high. So the mycelium, the mushrooms, are very important in breaking down everything that lands on the forest floor. They're almost like, you know, I've heard people describe them as like the mouth of the soil. So they eat everything that lands. And you can't really see it, but they're a very important part of this ecosystem. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm just chilling out here, taking it all in. I hope you've all learned something about how amazing and beautiful the subtropic rainforests are here in Queensland, and I encourage you all to come out here and take it in and appreciate it for yourself. But I'm going to try and do more videos like this of walking through different forests and learning about it. And I found that the best way for me to learn is to do, like to come out here and see it, but also to teach. So I think teaching has been really helpful to help me learn more about these beautiful places. But stay tuned for the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.